Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Social Media Engaged podcast. I am your host, Jamila, and today we're going to be talking about incorporating video into your storytelling digital marketing strategy. And later on in the episode, I'm going to be interviewing Noelle Saunders, who is a former broadcast journalist, now turned public affairs specialist, and she's going to be giving her tips on storytelling through video. In great news, everyone, the Social Media Podcast is now on iTunes and Stitcher and Buzzsprout. So please give us your review, feedback. I would appreciate it because I make this podcast for you guys. So I'm hoping that you're getting a lot out of it. And again, continue to send in your reviews, emails, comments. I greatly appreciate it. So, of course, we start off the podcast with a nonprofit shout out. So today's nonprofit shout out spotlight goes to Connect with a Wish, and they are located in Virginia Beach, Virginia. And their mission is to enhance the lives of Virginia Beach foster kids. So they have a great mission, great program. So go follow them on Facebook and Twitter. Their handle is Connect with a Wish. And as always, if you have a nonprofit that you would like to give a spotlight who are just going above and beyond in social media or in the community, send me an email at thesocialmediaengage@gmail.com. So I wanted to just touch base a little bit on a social media, I wouldn't say a social media trend, but it was so interesting because I saw it in the news, and I had talked about this a little bit on last week's episode with Lily on Giving Days, and we were talking about Twitter and how I would love to see a edit button on Twitter. I think last week's social media trend was Twitter removing the like button, and I said, let's not even move forward with the like button. Let's add an edit button. What about that though? So there has been talks that they are going to add an edit button, or they may not add an edit button. It's up in the air. And I believe the president of Twitter, he said maybe or maybe not. So we don't know, but I have my fingers crossed and I'm praying that they add an edit button, because I know I'm not the only one that has wrote a really good tweet, sent it out 2 seconds later. When you're getting the retweets and the likes, notice that you've misspelled something, or you left a period out, or there's a comma missing, and then you have to delete the whole thing and start over, and then you may not get the same amount of traction that you were getting. So it would be nice to have that edit button for those kind of moments. So let's get into the podcast, and we're talking about video storytelling in the digital strategy and marketing strategy. And I know there are some nonprofits who think that they need to create a high quality video or need the high quality equipment to tell their story, and they need everything with the bells and whistles. Well, I'm here to tell you that is not true. You don't need all the bells and whistles to create a quick video for social media, and it all depends on exactly what your video is going to do, but we're going to get into all of that. So we know with fundraising that that's one of the things that nonprofit organizations keen for. Some of the things is, they're asking for money so that they can continue to do good in the community. Well, video is a compelling way to entice action, to entice those to give to new donors, existing donors. And video is such a great tool to use because it cuts through all the noise and the clutter, and it grabs attention. And you can really, as a nonprofit organization, showcase your impact through video in a way that can deepen your connection and create new connections with potential donors. And of course, I always have a fact for you guys. So a Google study had found that 57% of people watch video and then they go on to make a donation. So that's more than half. So you can see how video is so important into your strategy. So video tends to outperform any other types of posts on social media. Whether you may not be seeing the likes as you think, but you got to look at the views and the shares of what your video is doing or how it's performing on social media. And people love video content because it's so easy to digest. And especially when you can add your captions to the videos, because a lot of people watch videos without sound. So even having that there, it does better than any image can do on social media. So things to think about when you're getting started is to know that, again, another fact, that in 2020, 88% of the traffic will be coming from videos. So again, we need to get on to the video track. And you don't have to use it more than once. When you're creating this video, you can do like an evergreen piece so that you can easily share it over again on social media. And one of the things that you want to think about or ask yourself is, who is your audience? What are you trying to accomplish with these videos? How many videos are you trying to make? Who's going to help you with these videos? Also, choosing the right video topic. And once you decide what you want to achieve, what are the topics that you will use to accomplish your goal? Is it going to be about events? Is it going to be about explaining your cause, live video, email video? And then once you've created your video, edited your video, sent it out into the social media atmosphere, your metrics. How are you going to make sure that your video is generating results? Is it the number of views, how many times people watched it, donations received, how many new likes, how many new members? So those are just types of things that you should think about before you get started on your video, and to just remove the myth of you need all this expensive equipment to make a video. You really don't. Or that no one wants to watch your video. It's not true, because I just said 88% of traffic will be coming from video, and 88% of users spend a lot of time on websites with videos. And that some nonprofit organizations think that once they create a video, that's it. They can never be used again. Well, you can continue to use these videos again. It all again starts with, what is your goal? What is your outcome of producing the video? So again, types of videos that you can do is sharing your mission, letting people know about your organization, inspiring action aimed at getting existing supporters to do more for your cause, highlighted impact, and celebrate your nonprofit victories. And these videos like that for social media do not have to be 10 minutes video. The average person watches a video for 6 seconds. So I would say 2 minutes or less tops on having these videos on social media. And so here are some 5 practical tips to incorporate in your video. One I think I've already mentioned was telling inspiring stories. Nothing can compete online with a well-told story. This is what we do. We do this as humans, storytelling, communicating, but it's especially impactful and inspiring when it's in a video format. And nonprofits that do this well often share a mix of long form and short form videos, which I'll get into also, which like the long form are usually like professionally shot, edit videos. And also, but the short videos are kind of like in the moment videos as well. So then you have the videos that show impact. Donors make the decision to give money based on donors make the decision to give money to your organization. And this is in part of the responsibility of your nonprofit, so that you can show them that you are using the money wisely and responsibly. And this will communicate the results that you're looking to achieve. And so storytelling with video provides an intimate way to impact your community and show potential donors your organization is a good steward of the funds. You can do this by showcasing recent stories from real people who have been impacted by the work that you're doing. And also by doing that, showing real people that really been impacted with your cause, it helps connect with your cause and it helps connect with donors. So it all comes full circle. You can also use videos to thank and acknowledge their support, your donors and supporters for all the work they're doing in a personal way. Grabbing their attention. Also, before I even get to grabbing attention, I forgot a good part. When you're collecting these stories, because I know once you get started, you're like, okay, well, what stories I'm going to do, even with the examples I gave you. Think about how a news journalist would collect stories. And great thing if you stay tuned, I'll be talking to a former broadcast journalist who can give you that insight. But think about how a news stories collect stories and then go from there. And when you're thinking about that, you're thinking about videos that's going to grab attention. And you want to grab their attention at the beginning and also at the end. So another way of doing that is having a really good visual, really good content. And once you've done that, uploading your video to each of the individual social media platforms directly, not necessarily through YouTube and then using a link, but directly into Facebook or directly into Twitter, because it's more effective than posting an outside link to the video. And the video will automatically start playing when it comes up on the news feed, rather than having a viewer or a visitor just click right into the link. And you need to grab attention visually in the first frame, as I mentioned. Consider what you can do to entice people to click on the sound button or to click on a link to watch the full video. So another suggestion you can do is you can have like a sneak peek of the video, and then have a link have the link in your post to have them click to the full video. So you want to grab them, entice them, and you want to make them feel special. Your viewers, the donors, prospective donors. So a great example is, you know how sometimes, and maybe this hasn't happened to you, but if you visit a restaurant and you love the food and the chef comes out and you're like, oh, you're raving about the food, and the chef gives you a tour, shows you the kitchen, shows you like how everything is worked. Well, how can your organization bring people into your kitchen? Using video. How can you make them feel special and make them feel connected to your organization? And it's the little things too, is doing brief behind the scenes video of your organization, people at work, interviewing them, Q&A. And you can do all of this, honestly, on a smartphone in a steady hand or a tripod. Seriously. And you could post the videos of small things that you guys do in your nonprofit, answering questions, events, all that good stuff. Trying to see where else I need to go. Oh, so I mentioned earlier about long video and small video, or amateur video and professional video. So professional video are longer in length, they're staged and they're shot. And it's significant in the preparation and created by a professional videographer or filmmakers in the studio. And those professional videos are sometimes used for, or mostly used for, gala and fundraising events. Add to your YouTube channel or a donate page on your website. When I used to work for the Salvation Army, I worked on one of the events called the Hope Gala, and we worked with the Christian Broadcast Network, or CBN, and they created this amazing video to tell our story about Hope Village, which was one of the women's shelters on the grounds of Salvation Army, and really tell that story. And we received members from the Salvation Army, kids, everything. So it was a touching video, and it was great quality, and it was touching for the Hope Gala fundraising. And even then, if you're hearing this, you're like, well, we don't have the cash for a professional photographer or filmmaker to do these kind of videos. CBN helped us out. it was kind of like a barter system. So see if there's someone in the area who's professional, who are trying to get their name out there, who needs to build their portfolio, and will do this pro bono. There's many people out there that will do that for you if you're worried about the cost. And then you have your amateur video, which are created by staff members, volunteers, clients, and stakeholders. And there's without formal experience, not really much preparation, no script. And these work best on social media channels where it's short, 2 minutes or 30 seconds. If you can give it 30 seconds, that'd be great, or less. And it has you have the capability to be your own little filmmaker. I'm tongue-tied today. Mini filmmaker. Using your smartphone, using a smartphone mic, which I am using now from my podcast, and being able to upload it on apps like Snapchat, Instagram. There's so many video editing apps that you can use to make it look so professional and great quality. So I hope my tidbits and practical tips will help you when you are creating your video storytelling strategy. And to hear more, we're now going to go to Noelle Saunders' interview. And again, follow the Social Media Engage podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at the Social Media Engage. Continue to send reviews and feedback on our iTunes, Stitcher, and Buzzsprout. I don't know why I keep saying my podcast on Stitcher, iTunes, and Buzzsprout. And let's go into Noelle's interview. Take care, guys. To the Social Media Engage, and today I have a very special guest. I am with Noelle Saunders, who has tons of experience in video, telling stories, and she's going to tell more about herself. So welcome, Noelle.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I am a public affairs specialist at Old Dominion University. I've been doing this now for 2 years. My prior career was a television reporter for almost 3. I worked at CBS in Roanoke and Fox in Georgia.
Which means she was famous, guys. She's being modest, but girl.
Yeah, so I had a lot of experience, in writing, video, telling stories, and all that good stuff that makes TV what it is.
Awesome. So I thought having you on this podcast, as you know, this podcast is for nonprofit organizations, but I thought with all your experiences that you can give some great insight on creating videos for nonprofits. But as we know, video is kind of the thing these
Absolutely,
days,
it's taken over.
Yep, especially your social media. So my first question is, how do you tell a story with video? What are the visual contents that you're thinking of as you're developing a story?
Well, when you tell any story on video, you always want to keep in mind it's almost like you are writing a book or painting images, if you will, like using words. So you always want to be able to tell a story that people, even if they don't watch it, and even if they just hear you, they'll be able to visualize it. So that's usually what makes good video content. You always want to tell stories with emotions. Make sure you capture the emotions of the room, like the tone, as we call it, in TV, the tone of the room and what's going on around you. Always, good sound bites is very important. When you're telling stories, you have to be able to, engage with your interviewee and make sure you're getting the best sound possible for TV or wherever you're going to broadcast the video. And also, when we speak about visual elements, obviously scenery is very important. You have, for example, like trees or anything that's really going to grab the viewer's attention. Grabs the viewer's attention is really what makes a good story. So you have, scenery, sound bites, and also the tone of the room. Capturing the tone of the room is really important. So those type of things all make a good story. And it's almost, like I said, it's almost like writing a book, but you're telling the story on TV. You're telling it through the eyes of usually your interviewee is what you're trying to do to capture the complete essence of the story that you're trying to tell.
Right. I think those are good ideas, especially for nonprofit organizations, like having them keep in mind what their mission is and
Absolutely.
exactly what they're trying to do, and trying to, exactly like you said, tell their story. So what is one of the best stories that you told through video?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
And what was like one of the worst?
My. Well, one of the best stories I ever told is actually a lady who's no longer with us. She passed away a couple of years ago. It was a company that makes the college flags.
Those, like the banners that you hang in your room.
Right, those. Yeah, I love those. And it was an interesting story because we had got a call. I was at CBS in Roanoke at that time. We got a call, a news tip is what we call that. And someone had called and said, there's a lady who's like in her 90s and she's, she continues to work. She had been working for, it was a factory basically for about, 20 years, but she had prior careers before that. But the real important part was she was still working like in her 90s. Like, wow, not many people, hold on to jobs for that long. That's a long time.
I'm retiring. I'm not working until I'm 90.
Yeah, I'm right with you. That's a really long time.
Sorry, guys. Continue.
So some people really, really, really enjoy what they do. And so that was a story that I really enjoyed telling. I got to meet this woman, and she also gave me my college flag. Like, they are responsible for so many. I had no idea this little company in Roanoke does every college and university in our country. Yeah. So it was pretty amazing. They're just one of a few, but the fact that they're in Roanoke, and it's like, wait, what? Really? And so she was very poised and very sharp on camera. To be her age, I mean, she was really, really bright and just, flamboyant and really out there. And it was a good story because I got to hear, her life story and how she got to where she is and the things that she had done. She said she had started sewing since she was a child. And see, again, when we go back to storytelling, those kind of things, life stories, journeys, that all makes good content. And listening to her story was just really amazing. I mean, she had been everywhere. Her husband was in the military years ago. He had passed away, and she was still trucking on. And she just found her happy place coming into that factory every day to work and she'd sit in her corner. Everybody had like little stations, and she would just be going away with that needle. Like, it was pretty amazing. And then she had passed away shortly after I left, but I was like, wow, I was so blessed to meet somebody like that. So that story was a really touching story to hear somebody's story about their life and why they stayed on their job for so long, and the fact that they enjoyed it. And then the owner of the factory, he was like, I would never get rid of her. She's a great worker. She's just one of our best. And so he said, I let her come in and work. She can work as long as she wants to. So that was
That's a good employee right there.
Tell me about it. So that was a really good story. In terms of the worst one, I would say.
And why was it a worse one too? Like, storytelling wise or video wise?
There are times when you will be put in a situation where sometimes it's really hard to capture a story just given the background of where you are, or it may not be enough to really include those elements that make good video content. And I'm thinking about that because there was a couple of times where I literally just made magic out of something. Kind of like how you just get in the kitchen. What am I going to cook today? I'm just going to drum something up.
Mayonnaise. We're going to get this Kool-Aid.
Exactly.
Lettuce and
call it a day.
That's
exactly. Right. And it's almost the same with video. It's like a recipe. That's really what it is. When you have... when you're making video content, think of it as a recipe. What ingredients? Too. Yep. Yeah. What ingredients do you need to make this content? So this was a day, I mean, it was raining, so that didn't really help. And it was some kind of organization that was doing some kind of promotion for outside. I could have swore it was Food of America. It might have been another one, but I think it was them. It was involving canned foods and donations. So the problem was the organizers were outside, but they did not have any. There wasn't any people there yet, so there was no cans, no nothing. They didn't really finish setting up, and as we know in news, you're on a deadline, so you kind of have to move quick. You got to make something, even if you don't have it. So I had to kind of, talk to them and get them to like throw some cans in there and kind of stage it a little bit until people started coming over. So stories like that can always be, a little tough to wrangle with. So I would say that's why it wasn't the best, because I had to kind of stage it a little bit, and you don't really get the authenticity like that when you're staging stuff. But
how did the audience react to your videos?
Oh, they never knew. No, I made sure that they definitely did not know. It takes practice to do that kind of stuff, but they did not know at all. So we had to really stage it and kind of pull hands wherever and get that video up. But it was kind of a hassle because obviously we're used to going into scenes that are set up, but you won't always have a set up scene. Sometimes you have to stage it and make it up as you go along. So those are usually difficult, but it's doable.
Yep. And still tell your story, still get your message out there, still try to get the reaction of what you're trying to tell your story about, I guess.
Yep.
So for those who may not have a news camera and mics and stuff, what are some of the good resources that they could use to tell their story in a great way and still get their message across? And then has there also been a time where you had to kind of utilize your resources when you may not have had your camera?
Oh, yeah. I will say, given that this is 2018 now, I mean, we have people out there who obviously aren't news reporters and who are making YouTube videos and all kind of Vine and all kind of stuff now that didn't exist, a few years back. And so what I will say, the cell phone is obviously a great element. I mean, nowadays they're not really cell phones, they're mini computers.
Yeah,
so
that's for sure.
You have so many tools available on cell phones. I mean, it is ridiculous how many things are available to cut video, to record audio. There's just so many tools with that. You also have webcams on computers, which a lot of people do that with those hair videos and all that stuff on YouTube and recipes. So a lot of people use that. And then you also have iPads and all those things, tablets to do that kind of stuff as well. But I would say the cell phone is king. I mean, I've been in places where I did not have a camera and I just had to grab some quick stuff with my phone, which is always the best. But the trick to that is obviously you have to have a phone that's up to date.
Yes.
And really
have some good video quality.
Yes. Pixels matter.
Yes. But then there's also some apps like iMovie or Hyperlapse or any kind of app that's free that you can download on your phone and make magic with it.
Exactly. Now you don't necessarily need Adobe Premiere software to edit video content. Now you can edit content on a cell phone or wherever you are. You can sit on a bus and do it. So it's pretty amazing how far we've come. But I would say if you're not in a place where you don't have a video camera, just pull out your cell phone and make magic.
When you are making these videos, when you were in news, were you ever thinking about how this would look on social media, how this would look on a computer rather than just, television? Especially now, I know a lot of news stories end up online.
I will say, yes, when you make video, you're never really obviously making it now for one audience. And especially in today's world, most people aren't even they're not receiving their information from television and radios. They're receiving it from cell phones. So you always try to keep in mind when you shoot videos, where it's going. Like, for example, I used to have a habit of keeping my phone vertical when I was shooting stuff out there. And then when you send it somewhere like YouTube or some platform like that, it's all vertical instead of, horizontal. So I had to get in the habit of shooting, keeping in mind that this video is going somewhere else and shooting it vertical so it wouldn't look odd odd wherever I was sending it. So you always have to keep in mind there's more than one platform out there, and when you're shooting something, it could possibly end up in other places.
Yeah.
And most of the time it does. So I would say, keep a watchful eye of how you position your phone, whether people are inside of we call it the box, so they're not stepping out. It doesn't look like they don't have an arm when you watch the video, and you're like, wait, that's not how I shot that.
Exactly.
But that can definitely happen. So you always have to be mindful of you're shooting video, but it can potentially end up on several platforms.
Exactly. All right. Any other last tips that you would like to give?
Well, I would say watch how you shoot, where you shoot, and always be mindful of how you can really capture a story using its surroundings, what sticks out, and what normally sticks out to you is usually what will stick out to a viewer. So always keep in mind your surroundings are important, and listen to what your interviewee is saying. So that's always a really, really good tip. And then also, organizations, when they're talking about their missions and really wanting to get that message out there, look to see what best tells that story and what can I use around me to really, really tell it. And that's always really, really important.
As always, great advice. Well, thank you for stopping by the Social Media Engage podcast. Tune in next week when we talk about charitable giving and using Instagram stories, which is a fun one because I love me some Instagram stories.
Me too.
So, and if you're not following Noelle, what's your Instagram handle? Because you will be very entertained.
It is Noelle, Noell _Leanne, Leanne.
So if you're not following her, follow her. Follow the Social Media Engage on Facebook at Social Media Engage Podcast, Instagram, the Social Media Engage, and Twitter, the Social Media Engage. And please give feedback and review us on iTunes and Buzzsprout. Until next time, bye.